Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good good morning, Anil. I'm good. You?
I'm good, man. I'm good, thanks. Ready to launch a new topic for today.
Absolutely. Tell me.
Something that's been on my mind. I had a conversation with a very close friend on Friday last week, and we were chatting about social media. And he's off Instagram. He doesn't follow it. Because he just doesn't like the emotions that seeing other people, on a beach or seeing people like showing off kind of things they have. Like it brings him down. And I kind of joked to him. I said, LinkedIn, I feel, has become that in the last, let's say, 12 months. People getting promoted, people moving jobs, people losing jobs, um, people, yeah, what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of said to him, I was like, I feel like there are two camps of people. There's one camp that um, compare themselves to others, and there's another camp that enjoy self-promoting themselves and what they're doing. Not to say their intention is flawed, or if it's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Are they trying to massage their ego? Or are they trying to just kind of be share their joys with others, their achievements with others? So yeah, and it reminds me how I sometimes fall in that trap of comparison,
Mm.
and then struggling to self promote, even like these podcasts, how we get people to listen to them. And so,
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
so I just thought we'd have a chat today around, either comparison with others or self promoting ourselves.
Cool. So, since this is something you've been thinking about, why don't we start by me asking you some questions about it to get to the bottom of where your head's been at, and what of this you've seen to kind of paint that picture for us.
Sounds good.
How about starting with the self promotion part?
Okay.
Um, so tell me a bit more about that.
So, in terms of like personally, what I feel about self promotion, or what I see of others and how they self promote.
Yeah, one of those two.
Um, So I think when it comes to, actually, let me talk about myself. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
growing up, my dad would tell me, he would tell his friends, I don't have an ego. I don't have an ego. And we had a chat, a couple weeks back about um, the merits of an ego. And I struggle sometimes to promote myself, to talk about the things I'm really good at, because I feel that if I do it, it'll be misinterpreted.
Mm.
People see me as you know, uh, trying to rub people's faces in what I can do well. And so I start to think about other people and other people's perception of my achievements, and
Yeah.
um, kind of flip that. And I look at others, and I wonder sometimes, when I see other people promote themselves, are they doing it is it a genuine motivation?
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing it to help me, help others, encourage me, inspire others? What's the, what's the motivation?
Mm.
And so, yeah, when I go to LinkedIn and I see someone saying, "Hey, I've recently become the CEO of a company, or I got a new job, or I'm now the VP of something," you know, they're doing that obviously to raise awareness. And so I just sometimes kind of question the intent, the intention behind it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel a bit nervous about my own self and my own intentions, but then I
Mm-hmm.
also feel nervous about, or I question the intentions of others.
Yeah. I mean, so what are some ways that you could do self promotion? What kind of channels and messages are we talking about here?
So I think, if we think about like, social media, I think that's a massive channel, right? I'm not on Twitter, so I don't really share thoughts on Twitter. I think LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, um, probably TikTok for sure. I'm definitely not in that generation, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for me, I think, how I try to maybe publish myself. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm thinking. Uh, I think LinkedIn has become probably a primary channel in the last 12 months, especially when it comes to live, breathe, believe, as has Instagram. So, yeah, I think just finding these channels and using these mediums to raise awareness and to draw people in, to really help them see what we're doing and how we're doing it, but knowing that we're one voice amongst a billion voices
Mm.
that are trying to, or hoping to be heard, um, through these mediums.
Yeah. So you mentioned your motivations. What would you like to say, and what is your motivation? What would your motivation be?
Um, the motivation, it's to almost gain a bit of credibility, to enable others to see, hey, there's a reason why I'm sharing what I'm sharing. Um, I'm using a word to describe it, but there's experience that's behind it. Come listen to it, come read about it. And if you understand it, and if you can relate to it, and if you find it beneficial, then stick around.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, hey, if it doesn't resonate, doesn't mean much to you, you're hearing it in different ways or from, let's say, more senior folk,
Mm-hmm.
hey, pass on it and move on.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, I think the motivation is really to help people understand the experience and yeah, draw them in to see if it can be more relatable than other things they
Mm.
read and hear.
Yeah. In what ways do you think it could be beneficial?
Um, I think, if I think of what I do in terms of opening up and trying to maybe discuss topics that raise awareness, raise, my ability to reflect and almost kind of open up my book to the world and say, hey, don't just judge it by its cover, go through it chapter by chapter or page by page. It gives people the opportunity to go, okay, if he's able to do it, I can do it. If he's doing it because it's something that he believes in, if I can believe in it myself, I can do it too. Um, it's almost just to, I think again, it's to enable people to just look into themselves, look inside themselves, but not to criticize, but actually to almost do the opposite. You find the strength, the power that's inside of you. Because I've been doing that for probably the better part of 5 to 6 years, and I feel stronger as a person who knows himself better. And it's just a matter of sharing that with others and, almost hoping to and looking to then learn and hear about other people's experiences as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that, as you explained this last part and you got into the details about what might be beneficial to someone, you brightened up a little bit and started smiling, which was nice to see. It tells me that it's something that you really feel, and it starts to come out. That I would summarize that as three things. You said it's about like looking inside and knowing yourself,
Mhm.
and it's about opening up and setting that example of being open and maybe vulnerable as well, and being honest about these experiences that ultimately allow us to believe in ourselves and reach for something and become something. So I think those three steps you summarized very nicely, or you laid them out very nicely, and to me that seems like very genuine motivation. I think when you explain it that way, of setting that example for anyone to say, yeah, this is a good way to do it. I should also talk more, maybe think more about my previous experiences and how they've shaped me, open up about my strengths and weaknesses and challenges I'm going through, and find a way to leverage that to believe in myself in order to reach a certain goal. I think that's inspiring. I like that.
No, cheers, man. It's funny because this might draw more into that comparison piece, but last night I was listening to a woman's story of how she started her own business. She spent 14 months selling her flat, her one investment, nearly broke, went broke doing it to
Mm.
start her own business, and how she developed her resilience and she made it. And you listen to those stories and sometimes you reflect on your own. You're like, okay, I may not have that exact example of how I developed my own resilience, but
Mm.
I have my own, and they've obviously brought me to where I am. But at the same time, by listening to someone else's stories, you can almost appreciate it, respect it, as
Yep.
opposed to think, man, if only I had that struggle so that I could actually be more
Mm-hmm.
resilient. It's like, no, 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 no. You have your own struggle. You just have to look inside yourself and almost pull it out and just reflect on it and understand it. Um, And I find those stories of individual struggles quite powerful. And
Mm.
I feel like those are kind of stories that need to be promoted, because the guy at the end of the podcast asked her, he's like, do you think most people like or can live the life you have, and made the choices that you've had? And she's like everyone's capable of it. She's like, but it's meant for some, and it's maybe not meant for others.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to your own intent, your own motivations. What
Yeah.
is it you want from life, as opposed to what you see others promoting or
Mm-hmm.
doing, in order to think that that's what you should be doing, rather than defining your own path, defining your own
Right.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. So that takes us in the direction of comparison and having your own path versus comparing yourself with someone else, perhaps. So, what is it about comparison?
Well, how much time do we have? Do you
Plenty of
know?
time.
Yeah, exactly. Comparison to me. I'll try to be concise with this, because, like I guess I can speak about this for hours. Culturally speaking, I grew up being compared a lot to family, friends, to siblings, to and to others, and that was difficult, because I always was looking at what others were doing rather than what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. Um, and so, and I joke about it. It's like almost like copying someone's exam sheet. It's like, hey, what did you get for answer? What did you put down? What are you putting down for answer number 5? It's like, well, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing that. You're in an exam. Like, this is about you and what you've
Right.
learned. So answer
Hmm.
what you know, as opposed to what someone else knows. And as we get older, and as I got older, I saw my sister go on and be valedictorian. So I want to be valedictorian. I saw my sister, go off and become a doctor, and I'm like, well, I want a successful career. I want to be, have a skilled profession. I want to be a lawyer. I always used to joke. I'm like, oh, if my sister kills someone, I can, defend her in court. So, but, so I always was like comparing myself to what others were doing, rather than, but is this really something I want to do? And, whether
Hmm.
it was nurtured by my family, by myself, by my siblings, I just felt like I was constantly looking what others were doing and thinking that's what I needed to do, rather than kind of just looking to myself and going, what do you enjoy doing? What gives you happiness? What gives you joy?
Right. I mean, I think what you're saying makes total sense in that I think a lot of people can relate to this idea of growing up, comparing ourselves, and also sometimes being told to compare ourselves to others,
Mhm.
and maybe not giving enough time to figuring out what we want for ourselves. And I like the analogy of the exam because it's about a couple of things. One is that if you cheat on exams, you don't learn anything.
Mhm.
There's no motivation to study, and you never get any feedback on what you actually knew or not. So, it's kind of a dead end
It's well said.
versus, studying, getting the result you deserve, figuring out, how to prepare better and getting better results on the exam. And to take that analogy further, hopefully not too far, it's clear when you think about it that we're not sitting the same exam, right? So
So true. So true.
not only if it was the same exam, would you not benefit from copying someone, uh, but uh, in life we each have different exams in different orders. Maybe there's some similarities, and it comes back to the point you made earlier about it is sometimes good to copy someone, but like a mentorship kind of situation
Mhm.
or inspiration from a podcast. Someone did something cool, you can be inspired by it. Hopefully you surround yourself with people who inspire you, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. It seems like you can take something, inspiration is positive, and then comparison, then it starts to sound negative.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we always joke I should be careful how I say this, in consulting, or when you're building like a PowerPoint, right? It's like steal with pride. Why reinvent the wheel, right? But
Mm-hmm.
make it your own. I think that's where you have to separate between copying and learning,
Mm.
and then following someone else's approach or making it your own. And hey, some people might, we talked about it last week. Fake it till you make it. Some people can fake it. They can copy it. They can, and then eventually they're going to get called out, because they're not going to have. If someone asks them a question, hey, but why? They're not going to have an answer, because they're going to be like, well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. Whereas someone who's done it themselves, who really understand their motivation, their answers on their exam sheet, they're gonna be like, well, this is why I put that.
Mm.
I understood it like this, and I experienced it like this. And I was reading Matthew McConaughey's book recently, and I love it. He has one quote at the end where he's like, I would take a C in experience rather than an A in ignorance.
Mm.
And I was just like, man, that's so true. It's like, it's not about the grade, it's about what you learned. What's scary is growing up, I was all about the grade. Because again, I
Mhm.
wanted to be valedictorian. I needed that A in calculus. And so I remember having that conversation with that teacher going, please give me an A.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble. And she's like, stop being a grade monger. Like,
Mhm.
go learn it. You're learning it. You'll understand it. It means more to you if you know how to apply it than if just what the answer is on a sheet of paper. And I just don't think we nurture that enough.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's why, when I open up Instagram sometimes, even LinkedIn recently, like, and you see people getting, like, a couple Mondays ago, saw one friend of mine became CEO. Another friend of
Mhm.
mine became CEO. Another friend of mine got promoted. Another friend, I'm like, am I doing something wrong with my life? Like, I genuinely had an afternoon where I was just like, WTF, man. And, Anika, pulled me aside. She's like, look, you're on your own path. You're on your own journey. What is it you want?
Mm.
If you know what you want and why you want it, you'll be fine. And I think that's something that I sometimes think we sell ourselves short,
Mm.
and that's unfortunate. Um,
Tell me more about
because
that.
I, you know, it, we achieve in our own right. We succeed, we fail in our own right. Um, and I think it's about reflecting on that and giving that experience credit rather than, we don't know what other people are going through. So when you see a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post or a Facebook post, you're seeing like literally 0.1% of what's gone on. You don't know anything that else is going on behind the scenes. Whereas in your life, you know everything that's going on. And so it's almost more powerful for you to almost go, okay, let me just look at my life and what I've achieved based on what I've been through, what I've gone through. I should have more appreciation for that than, you know, envy or jealousy or even admiration or
Mhm.
of what someone else has gone through, because we don't know their story, but we know our own story. And it's like sometimes while you're, just, read your own story, write your own story,
Mhm.
appreciate your own story, rather than feel like you need, I don't know, the acknowledgement or validation or positive raving reviews from someone else of your own life story or your own life
Yeah.
achievement.
Mhm.
Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like drawing the best conclusions from that, I would say as individuals, we don't want to do that thing where we paint a dishonest picture of our lives, which is ultimately going to encourage other people to make that comparison and feel bad about themselves. But we do want to, with a genuine motivation, inspire other people, right?
Completely.
So that's the balance, right? I
Completely.
mean, what would be an example if you are like renting fancy cars and taking pictures with them, and like sneaking off to the pool at a fancy resort to take a couple of pictures? I mean, it's totally dishonest, right? About a lifestyle that you don't really have, and promoting it and looking like you're always on an expensive holiday when it's very far from the truth. That would be the bad example, right? Or like the
You know,
negative side of it.
it would be, but I think again, it's kind of like it depends again. Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
if you know the person and you know
Mm-hmm.
that's something they do derive joy and happiness from,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, cool, hey, I have a buddy of mine who loves his cars, and he
Mm-hmm.
went to the US and he posted a picture, with his girlfriend and this awesome like muscle car.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke there's sometimes more pictures of the car than of his girlfriend, and we always are like, where is she? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but we know him, and we know like he genuinely
Fair
loves
enough. Yeah,
open
yeah.
road. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on if you know the person and you know
Mm-hmm.
their motivation, again, you can admire and appreciate and celebrate it
Mm. Yeah,
and not
yeah.
feel like FOMO, oh, I'm missing out. I'm not doing that. I should be doing that. Why am I not doing that? It's like, well, first off, do you even like the open road? Do you like driving? Do you like America? And do you like muscle cars? If the answer is
Hmm.
no, no, and no, and no, then just celebrate it. And if you're envious, well, then go and do it when you can. Like if it's something that is truly important to you. So I
Yeah.
think it just comes back to your own motivations and how
Mm.
you're
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
it in mind and
Right.
perspective
I
when you're
like that.
seeing other things.
So it seems like similar to a genuine motivation, it can also be just like a genuine passion and sharing something you're passionate about. And if
Exactly.
that's fancy cars, it's fancy cars, but hopefully the genuine passion for it will come through.
Completely.
Because I was going after this point, like, there's something about, there's this saying, um, we buy things we don't need for money we don't have to impress people we don't know, something like that.
Love that.
That
Love
kind of
that.
tries to summarize this very superficial, materialistic, unconnected practice of doing things that other people are interested in, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I like the idea of the genuine passion. That something comes from ourselves, and we do it. It's also funny with social media because there's this need or behavior of like sharing stuff with many people,
It is.
broadcasting this, like, I'm having a drink by the pool, here are my feet, this kind of thing.
No, exactly. And it's just, again, if you're doing it for likes, if you're doing it for engagement, for
Mm-hmm.
comments, people go, oh, we love you. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing it because like, look, hey, by doing this, you can have a better life. You can find your own habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think like it's just interesting because I think it's an interesting balance. Because I think we are as human beings, we're incredibly impressionable,
Mm-hmm.
we're moldable, and so it's just making sure that words are powerful, but images are even that much more powerful. But
Mm.
we're giving it power. So if I see a guy with like an 8 pack, if I see Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm like, dude, that guy's jacked. He's fit. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a yacht. And he's got these amazing football skills. And I'm like, I wish I had that. Ooh, like I think it's as soon as you mutter those words that you miss the plot, because
Mm.
it's not about what you wish you have, it's what you do have. It's like, well, if you want an 8 pack, go get it. If it really means that much to you, or if you want a yacht because it's going to make your life better, go get a job that's going to help you get a yacht.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it's just how we
Mm.
as humans chase what we see versus really knowing what it is we want.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's an important point. Like, there's something there about when we see something, because it comes back to this thing, like, is it inspiring, or does it come across as a kind of showing off that makes you feel um, more dissatisfied with what you have? And I think that's tricky, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we saw these things, Cristiano Ronaldo, and we thought, man, that's so inspiring, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna work out, um, I'm gonna do those kind of things. That's all good, right?
It is.
Um,
It is.
and so, where does the line go, or when does it kind of fall into? Is it that can we be inspired by anything, even the most even the most superficial, dishonest thing that someone could possibly produce on social media? We could still be inspired by it, if we're strong and positive. Because I think it comes back to our attitude. We can go, even if that person does not actually have the money to go to that resort, we could still be inspired and say, oh, yeah, that's where I want to spend my holiday. Now I need to hustle and make it happen. And in that case, there was no genuine passion, or maybe not an honest motivation. We could look into the head of that influencer, but for ourselves, we can still take something positive from it. And I think vice versa, there are some people who have the best intentions, are passionate about what they do, um, and they try very hard to inspire people, and they still encounter what we would call trolls, right? Who are, I think, just generally usually in such a bad place psychologically that they do not see this positive thing, that someone is setting an example, talking passionately about their passions,
Mhm.
and still it's like someone's going to point out, really this kind of trolling behavior. So for me, then it comes back to that there is a lot in our attitude. If we feel that we're on the right track, compare ourselves less with other people, it's possible to take the oddest things and be inspired by it, get some energy from it, glean some insight from it. Whereas if we're in the wrong mind space and on the wrong track, we can take the, you know, gems of the universe in terms of podcasts and insights and leading lights and just like, you know, troll them and troll ourselves into the ground.
See, and that's a double whammy. As soon as you troll, yourself and get trolled by others, you know, I love how you said it's do we derive energy from it, or does it drain energy from us?
Hmm.
And I'm all about inspiration. You know, there's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why we post what we do. We want to inspire people. We want people to reflect, people to understand what do you have, and therefore what can you do with what you've got. Choose. Do you want to do more with it? Do you want to just stay as you are, or would you rather just kind of sit back? I think it's important for folks to really know, is that inspiring, that genuine motivation, um, or are they trying to be one with the masses? Like, it's like, if
Mm.
I saw a yacht, and I'm like, if I get a yacht, I'm going to be liked more, my friends are going to like me more. Okay, so you're doing it because you want to be liked more. You're not doing it
Hmm.
because you truly want to own a yacht, because it'll give you freedom on the open seas and you love the open water and you just want to, like, and apparently a yacht is what's going to take you out there, supposed to a
Mm.
cheaper surfboard or a little,
Mm.
a dinghy,
Mm.
so I think it comes back to, I don't feel we're nurtured, through our youth and into our, young adulthood, how we should not compare ourselves, but we should be inspired by others. Be inspired
Mm.
by, The Rock. I think the guy's an amazing guy, right? He's started his own film career, wrestling career. Now he's getting into, like, products, but
Mm.
I see him and I'm like, I'm not going to replicate his life, but, like, I want to be inspired by what he's doing. And I think it's just a matter of finding that balance between, are you comparing because you have FOMO and you're missing out and you want what other people have,
Yeah.
or are you inspired by it, and does that unlock and unleash
Yeah.
something within
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
almost contribute back to your friends, your family, society? And I think it's just that, I think it boils down to that. And I just don't
Yeah.
feel we're
Yeah.
nurtured to
Yeah.
think about it that way.
Right. Right. To be honest, I think that's a very good summary in the sense that it comes back to figuring out your own path.
Mhm.
If you figure out what you really want and how you're going to get it and connect the dots of your own life, I think that gives a certain grounding. And that is probably the key then to looking at the outside world and being inspired and not getting uh, taking the wrong lessons from other people's success or other people's paths or other people's attempts to inspire. So hopefully that's something that can be practiced. I think it's something that can be practiced, that we practice developing our own paths and practice. It might relate to wishing other people well and, granting them the success that they have gotten, maybe earned or unearned, um, to get that balance right between our own path and drawing a positive inspiration from others.
I totally agree with that. And I'll just add a few thoughts from my side. I think if you've got kids, nurture that in them. Nurture not to
Mm.
compare, nurture to inspire. Um, I think the second thing I would say is experience. Don't copy off someone else's exam page. Their life is different than yours. Their exam is a different test for them. Go experience for yourself. Even if you fail at it and you get a crappy grade, it beats a better grade at being ignorant and not having done it yourself. Um, I think it goes back to, how do you look inside and understand your true motivation, and whether that's motivation that you use to promote because you feel you can serve as an example, to inspire others rather than to make others envy you. And at the
Mm.
same time, you're not comparing yourself to others, but you're, as you said, Fred, you're finding a way to not get double trolled. rather the opposite. You get double the cheer,
Yeah,
double
yeah,
double
right,
the
right.
double
Yeah,
the
yeah.
encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
therefore hopefully double the success.
Yes. I like that. And I think that's a good summary.
Ah, cheers, man. Fred, thanks for that. I love that conversation, and it's good to kind of share, Jim, just yeah, our thoughts on it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Cool, man. Well, hey, have a good afternoon, mate. I'll catch you later on. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, Fred.
Take care.